Alright, we're here in the Sports and Aquatic Centre in Katoomba. And wouldn't you believe, there's a racetrack here. An old, abandoned racetrack. Never knew that there was a racetrack in Katoomba. So we're going to actually walk around. I think it's 2.1 kilometres. No touring cars ever raced here, but if you have a look on YouTube, there's a nice accident of Bob Jane around this track in 1965. So I'm going to see if we can find some chicanes and some old signage from back in the day. It looks like someone's walking around the track already. What does this say? In memory of the Kundagara and Durug and other Kuris, and also non-Aboriginal people who lived and died in the gully. Okay, so it's a sacred Aboriginal precinct as well. Alright, I think we'll head up. Or do we head down? Alright, let's head down. So here's the racetrack. We're actually on the racetrack. So you've got the old boards here that would have stopped the cars from going into the dirt. You've got some old palings over here from back in the day, and this is what they would have raced on. So you could probably get 3 cars wide on here. There's another funny video as well on YouTube where this place was still active in the 90s and people were coming up here. Young kids and that were coming up here with their cars. So I gather this is maybe where all the cars would park back in the day. So this is huge. They've turned it into a cycle walkway now. We'll go down a bit further and we'll see if we can come across any Dunlop signage or BP signage from back in the day.
Good, Lon.
Okay, I've read somewhere that down here where this lake is now, apparently were the old pit garages. So this might have been the pit area, it might have been the starting point. So down here next to the Katoomba Aquatic and Leisure Centre, this is where the pit garages were for Catalina Raceway. And that's what it's called. Here we go, it was, must have been the start line, because here we've got 2, maybe we would have said start and finish up the top here. So we've got 1 relic left, but everything else has been taken off. Just come down here and have a look at this man-made lake. This would have just been a barren ground once the pit garages were knocked down back in the 70s. So we're back on the start finish of Catalina Raceway. So we have this structure that might have said stop and finish, or start and finish, and then we have another one over here. So here we go, look, we've got some really old guardrails from back in the day, and here's another one of those signs. Might have actually said Catalina Raceway up there. Have a look at this old guardrail here from back when they were racing. And it actually sweeps around on this side, so maybe the track actually went up there. If you have a look here, it sweeps right around. Yeah, you got some signage up here. Maybe they'll talk about the racetrack up here. Let's see what it says in this little undercover area. Here we go. Catalina Road Racing Circuit. There you go. That could be Bob Jane. You got some open wheelers that used to race here as well, so that's coming down the hill where we just were. The construction of the racetrack devastated the community. Homes and bushland were destroyed. Bulldozers gouged through the aquifer and destroyed the original spring. Ooh. The loss was extremely difficult for the gully people and their friends to comprehend. Just dreadful. They ploughed it all up and they wiped it out, annihilated it. In 1957, supported by local businessmen, the Blue Mountain Sporting Drivers Club proposed a Katoomba racing circuit be built in the gully. Blue Mountain City Council approved the development and provided the loan and machinery needed to clear the gully settlement and build the racetrack and its amenities. The Catalina racing circuit took 3 years to complete. The first race meet was held in February '61. Racing cars thundered through the gully while loudspeakers broadcast the events to thousands of enthusiastic spectators. At first the track seemed a success. Over time, however, a different story emerged. Mist and rain caused recurring problems. Race meetings were cancelled and the club's finances were stretched. 2 drivers were killed on the misty track. In the end, the racetrack proved a costly venture and the council loan to construct the circuit was never repaid. The racetrack gradually wound down its operations and closed in 1992. Clearing for the racetrack commenced in the gully in '57 with construction of the circuit between '58 and '61. This devastated the gully community. While some people were informed about the plans, others say they were never consulted. A few people were handed their eviction notice on the day before their homes were demolished. How's that? No compensation was paid. The gully people were abandoned and forced from their homes. The other residents who had lived most or all of their life in the gully were the hardest hit. The shock, burden and heartache of sudden homelessness were too much for some to bear. One elderly resident died at the time of the demolition. Others became severely depressed as they struggled to comprehend their loss. In 1957, when the gully racetrack was announced, Katoomba residents questioned the council on the notion of a racing circuit in a residential area and its disregard for the gully community. The council was also challenged for excluding the public and press for committee meetings about the racetrack. Growing public criticism forced the president of the Blue Mountain Sporting Drivers Club to respond that no homes will be removed. We have gone so far as to have the original survey of the circuit altered to avoid going too close to people living in the area. Wow, have you read that? This was just put here against everyone's opinion, and 2 guys died, and there was apparently there was mist and rain caused recurring problems. 2 people died on this track. I never knew it was here. Incredible to think that there was a racing track. They never talk about it anywhere, do they? If you watch all those touring cars and stuff like that, they never talk about the Blue Mountains. Mate, it must be a touchy subject with this. The gully must have been filled with indigenous people, because you've got heaps of carvings here, heaps of stories of the indigenous living down here. How's that? Catalina Road Racing Circuit. And the chicanes, the barriers still remain. See if we can go find where Bob Jane crashed. I don't know what that would have been here. That would have been part of the track used for something back in its day. So the guardrails are still there. Geez, people must have gone off in there. And you've got the wooden boards here, but no signage is being left at all. Imagine roaring down there. Sort of like Pitt Straight. Yeah, this would have been Pitt Straight, because if the pit garages were over here, This would have been pit straight if they were racing from behind me coming along here. Alright, I'm going to walk up right around the 2.1 kilometre circuit and see if we can find any old signage hiding behind any scrub or bush. Okay, so we've just climbed or walked up a little bit further, and I'd say this would have been like Conrod Straight. Come flying down here. You got the barriers here, got the guardrails here, and that's what it looked like all the way down. So you could still race here. This gum tree's fallen right on the barriers over here. Nothing's left much of that. But you could get 3 cars across. 2 people died here. Catalina Park Raceway. Who would have thunk it? Come on, Jules, you coming up? Come on, have a look at the guardrails up here. See if you can see any signage. Looks like this one's been whacked. So there was an accident here at some point. It's so overgrown, it's hard to know what was what. So you've got a guardrail that stops here, got another guardrail here, and guardrail down here. Maybe they used to come up through here as well. Who knows? That's strange, eh? They come down through this way, but the guardrail comes up here as well. You take a picture now? Jules, you should have put them in your bag. Come down here. Let's see how far down the guardrail goes. It bends around and it just stops here. Maybe this is if there was accidents, they would just push the cars off the road. Although it does look like cars would have screamed down here at some point as well. Alright, let's keep on walking up. Alright, we're at the base of a few shops up at Katoomba here. I'm pretty sure this is where Bob Jane may have crashed back in 1965. There's a silent film footage on YouTube of him coming around a corner and rolling along this chicane, I'm pretty sure. And in the footage you can actually see people standing up here. There was one tree in the footage that we thought we might be able to single out, but there's plenty of other trees that have grown since then. So, but here it looks like up here is where a whole bunch of people would have stood, and it looks like he's come over this wall here and he's crashed on the other side of it. So if I was to guess where Bob Jane crashed, I'd say this would be it here. I'd say he would have been flying around here and he's missed. Oh, look at that, a drain right there. Imagine hitting the drain if you're flying 200 kilometres around here. I bet you that would have been a marker for them to come racing around. Hit the drain pipe, take the blind corner.
I reckon.
Yeah. You reckon it's here? See all the hang on, let me see what's under here. See, there's a tree uprooted there, and the fence is busted there. Who's to say that's not it? Who's to say that's not it? There's no signage though, unfortunately. It'd be nice if we could see some old Dunlop sign or Caltex or BP. But it sweeps all the way around. Alright, I'm at the top of the circuit now. And this barrier goes all the way around the circuit, but I gather where you see these little bit of red marks, there was something written there, but the sun has faded it over the last 40 odd years, so I don't know. I don't think we're going to be lucky enough to find any signage. It would be nice, but alright, we'll keep on going and see if we can come across anything before we reach the start again. Have a look how tight it is through there. So like goes like that, weaves in, it snakes in underneath through here, and then here you've got another big dipper. Hey, this was a fast little circuit back in the day. This was hammer and tong. They built it well, and the guardrail's still going along, but we still haven't come across any signage. But here, right up the top there where Jules is, that's a massive dipper, so they would have been flying down there, or flying up there, depending on which way they were going. The guardrail remains, I gather, to remind everyone of what used to be here once upon a time. If you take this down, I gather it's just a road in the bush. Not many people would know it was a racetrack. I have to do some more reading up when I get home of exactly how the guys died and exactly what cars raced here. So you see it's overgrown here on both sides. You can barely get one car through here now at the moment. I can't see how far in. Oh yeah, there's the guardrail just there. That one's nice and rusty on that side, so the guardrail's just there. So this was nice and tight here. You could barely, no passing here, I don't think. You could barely get two cars side by side on this stretch of the road. So the guardrail starts here. Once again, wheeze up. Now we head up the hill. So they would have come flying around a blind corner, and then from here they would have just gone straight down, and that's where it snaked up around the other side, heading up around. I'd say they might have come down this way, so it would have been a nice straight for them. Alright, I don't know if we're back to the beginning yet. I don't think so. Still got a bit to go. Got something here that's been put in afterwards. I don't know what that would have been. Maybe a marshal standing up here, just checking if there was an accident down below. Yellow flagging everyone that comes around this blind corner, because if you don't know what's ahead of you, there would have been plenty of accidents. Alright, we're nearing the beginning of the aquatic centre again, and it gets very wet up here, and it looks like if there was any signage to remain, it's hidden under all these bushes along here where the sun doesn't get to, and there's something along this barricade. I think it says Dunlop, or it could say Raceway. I'm not exactly what it says, sure exactly what it says, but there is something along there. So that's the only bit that I've managed to find around the whole circuit that's got a little bit of writing left from back in the 60s. So it's anyone's guess what that says. I think it says Raceway. There's the R-A-C-E. So if you came along this bend here, maybe it promoted on TV Catalina Park Raceway. So if you're looking for any little bit of signage left around this circuit, that's it, just there. As soon as you see where the the tar, the bitumen gets wet, have a look under the trees, and if you get right under, you might be able to find complete pieces of barricade there where you can see exactly what it says, but it's real muddy. Alright, we're down the hill now. I think this takes us back on the home stretch to the car park where we first started. On this side over here it's just guardrail, so I doubt anything was written on that side. The side you want to look towards, depending on which... Alright, we're on the home stretch. We've come back up the top here now, so we're sort of like sitting on top of the circuit, the raceway, and this is where it loops around and it starts from the Aquatic Centre car park again. So we've walked the entire circuit. I found signage on one bit around the bottom there where the trees are now hiding these wooden barricades. I think it said raceway. That's what if it was to be my guess, I would say raceway. But you could get on here at night time, you know that. See, this would have been maybe... Oh, this was the pit garages maybe. You can see the old door. No, that probably would have been the car park where everyone would have parked. So back in the day, I'd say people would have been coming through here. You would have had marshals here, or the attendants here, and they would have guided everyone down onto this grassy patch down here, I'd say. And that's where everyone would have probably parked their cars, because I said it was very popular back in the day. So if you wanted to actually race this circuit at night time, there wouldn't be anyone walking along here. It's now called the Frank Walford Park and Catalina Lake area. It's no longer called the Catalina Park Raceway. And if you could open this gate, it's already open, which means you can let yourself in. So someone's forgot to lock it up. So if you wanted to have a bit of a race in here, this is the place to do it. So we'll lock that back up again. Assa Abloy. I've got plenty of Assa Abloys at home. Maybe someone's got the key and they come here at night time. Who knows? I think they've got the wrong lock. It's not closing properly. Oh, we'll leave it open the way it was. As you can see, someone's left it open. You see that? The bloody lock's open. Where were you?
I just went round and then I went back there.
What's down this way?
Just the middle.
Yeah, you reckon this is where the cars would have parked back in the day?
Yeah.
I reckon that they would have come through that door there. You see that? It's open. The lock's open. You could bring your car on here. Look. I just found it like that. I opened the door just a minute ago. You could drive straight on the circuit and race around. Well, how close are we to the car park? Is it just there?
Yeah, just
okay. Alright, well that's it. That's a wrap from Catalina Park Raceway up here in the Blue Mountains. Would not have a clue that this was here. And if we only had YouTube and social media around in the 90s when I was a young fella and sort of like mucking around with cars, this would have been a great spot to actually bring the crowd that we used to hang around with up here and race around here, because there are videos on YouTube of kids actually coming up here and rolling their cars and then turning them back on the side properly, so on their wheels. Alright, this is where we started. So if you want to do this walk, the Aquatic Centre up here at Katoomba, you come through this little gate and then it's up to you which way you want to walk around, bottom or top. That's a wrap.